Hello and welcome to the Peilcast podcast with myself, David Carabini. Support for this week's Peilcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's performance package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with the exclusive offer for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping when you use the code PELCAST20. That's PELCAST20, PEILCAST20, PELCAST20 at manscaped.com. If my maths is correct, that's about 8 million balls, give or take. Have you ever had a nick downstairs when you're having a nice groom? It's not very good, is it? It hurts. It's quite painful. For me personally, it's happened many times. But not anymore. Not since I invested in Manscaped. The Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and oh man, it's a game changer. Inside this package, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, the Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag that holds your goodies. First off, the Lawnmower 4.0. This trimmer is the future of grooming, and dare I say, the greatest ball trimmer ever. Their fourth generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and also has a 400K LED spotlight. You need this for a more precise shave. Because this trimmer is waterproof, you can say goodbye to the mess in the bathroom floor. You thought that was good? The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and provides proprietary skin-safe technology which helps reduce nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate nose holes. Their Crop Preserver ball deodorant and Crop Reviver ball toner will change the way you approach your hygiene routine. Trust me when I say this, fellas, your balls will thank you. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed travel bag. Bring your comfort and boxers to another level. It's time to take care of yourself, so go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code PELCAST20. That's PELCAST20, PEILCAST20. And trust me when I say this, your balls will thank you.
This week on the Peilcast podcast, Dave and I speak to Jake Dykes of Atlantic Scholarships about the collegiate system in the US. We then speak to Leeds United underage star and New Ireland underage international Ronnie McGrath about his career being called up to Ireland for the first time. Finally, we preview Ireland's first ever KIT conference, KitCon. I hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Peilcast podcast with myself, Dave Carabini, and Bill Gain. We're missing Jack McArdle this week, but we've replaced him with someone who's much better. It's Atlantic Scholarships' very own Jake Dykes. Jake, how are you?
Good, lads. Thanks for having me on.
It's great to have you on. You've set up Atlantic Scholarships with American colleges, and we're just wondering, how did that start up anyway with yourself?
Yeah, so I suppose it was kind of an idea that we had, my partner, myself, who was Ben Spellman. He's from County Sligo as well. When we were actually in college in the US, just about setting up pathways, I suppose, for athletes of all levels, primarily in football or soccer, as it's known over there, because that's kind of our bread and butter. It's something that we're very, very passionate about in terms of, giving young athletes a chance to, for example, if they don't progress into a professional environment, that they do have the opportunity to go into a full-time setup where they can actually balance their education and their sport as well. So it kind of came to light in towards around the end of 2017. And yeah, it's been planned ever since. And we actually went live with it going on about 2.5 years ago. And we've been formed as a company now, a limited company, for about 1.5 years, 2 years. So 2 years actually. So yeah, it's gone well. And as I said, I think we're massively passionate about giving young people the opportunity, if things don't go well for them in Ireland.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, we had one of your clients, I suppose you call them, is in Sean Kerrigan on the first episode of this podcast a few weeks ago, and he spoke very highly of the the program. He's absolutely smashing it over there with Ann Arbor at the moment as well. So it's great to see that. Like we know you've got Ellie Ferguson involved there as well. Is there any other big Irish names that we should know about coming up?
Yeah, so I mean, just speaking on Sean, like Sean's a very interesting one as well because, Sean had gone to Finn Harps. He was in around the first team. He was training with them. I know Ollie did his best to try and keep him there. Knowing Ollie and the way he is, he tried everything. But yeah, he's an interesting one because he kind of seen the bigger picture with it as well, in the sense that he'd be graduated at 22 and he'd be coming back to Ireland. But yeah, getting back to your original point. There's a lot of Irish lads and girls as well over there at the minute that are applying their trade over there. I think there's one thing about it is there's probably not a lot of coverage of it when they do go across, in terms of the publicity side of things and how well they're doing over there. But from our point of view as a company, we have about 20 clients, between 20 and 25 clients on the books right now. Of that, we've got 4, potentially 6 going out this year. And again, it's different levels of player, different levels of colleges that they'll be going to. So yeah, as you mentioned, I know Ellie Ferguson is over there as well. I believe she's a sister of Evan Ferguson. I don't know if that's his correct name. But yeah, she's over there. I know she's playing with Sean at the minute. Aaron Malloy is another one. I don't know if you know Aaron. I played against him once. Yeah, he's over there as well. He's playing professional now as well. So look, there's a whole range, and I think the beauty about it as well is it's not only football, but they're actually playing across a range of sports. There's a lady from Sligo called Mona McSharry, who's swimming at University of Texas, I believe. So there's loads of opportunities over there, and again, I think it's just the publicity side of things is lacking a little bit in terms of publicising them back home in Ireland.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that there with the lack of publicising. I mean, you mentioned Darren Malloy there. I remember him from a time when he was at Drogheda. I'm a Drogheda fan myself, so I saw him a good few times before he went over. I actually didn't, I didn't realise. I knew he went over on a scholarship. I didn't realise it was yourselves that brought him over.
Yeah, well, it actually wasn't us. I think he went through somebody else, but I was just kind of giving reference. So I played against him when he was over there. So it would have been, I think it was 2017, and he went to the University of Pennsylvania, and I was at NC State, so North Carolina State University. But again, he's done really, really well for himself over there. Again, trying to keep tabs on the Irish lads when they're across there and the girls, just to see how they're doing. So he's flying, which is great to see.
Yeah, no, I saw he signed for one of the MLS teams during the draft a few years ago, so it was great to see that. And he's obviously you could tell from when we saw him with Drogheda, he was a smashing little player. I think it would have been 2016 when he went over. He was only a young fella at that stage, so he's probably a much more mature head and shoulders at the moment, and he's probably smashing over there from what I can hear. But yeah, so like you were mentioning about Ellie Ferguson, Evan Ferguson, as you said, the brother. He's over with Brighton at the moment, isn't he?
I think so, yeah, and I know he's playing with the Irish under-21s as well. I watched the game last week against Italy, so they're obviously a sporting background, a sporting family, so there must be something in the water in that house.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was playing when he was 14, wasn't he, for Bows against Chelsea, I think, in a pre-season friendly one time. So
that's right,
I mean, there's definitely definitely something in the water, as you say. And just what colleges you mentioned a couple of them there. What other colleges would be involved in the Atlantic Scholarship Scheme?
Yeah, well, it's a range of colleges, really. To be honest, it's so what we do is we're basically a consultancy. So it's our job, really. Well, I say that very vaguely, but the biggest job for us really is to try and find and source a college for our clients in the US. So there's so many variables with the process in terms of the clients and maybe what they can afford, for example, in terms of budget, whether they want a full scholarship, partial, whether scholarship isn't an issue at all. Then obviously you have maybe the lifestyle element. Then obviously you have the sporting element, the educational side of things. So I think from our point of view, and again, why we're so passionate about this is that it really is tenable for anybody, regardless of what level you're at, regardless of your academic background. So just to throw a couple of names out there, we were sent, obviously you mentioned Sean, He's at Mercyhurst University, which is a Division 2 university. This year, we're sending out a player called Sean McAvoy. He's going to Loyola University. So Sean would have played with Bray Wanderers. He then went up to Ballinamallard United. I think he might have been at one other club as well. But if you remember, he played in the European Championships, the under-18s. He played right back. I believe it was about 4 years ago now. Sorry, not 3. Yeah, probably about 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago. And he was superb, for the whole campaign. So he was playing with Ballinamallard. He contacted us. He was looking to go across. So we managed to secure something for him. So he's going across in the summer. A couple other lads then that we've had on our books as well. Shane O'Riordan, he was at Cork City. He's gone to a different division. So it's called the NJCAA. NJCAA, sorry, yeah. And he's gone across to a college called Coastal Bend University. So Shane's a little bit different in the sense that he finished his leaving cert. He took 2 gap years, which means he's not eligible for the top division. So he had to go a certain route to then get into a D1 or a D2 school. So again, that's the beauty about the US and the beauty about the system is that these athletes and these students can start off really whatever level they want to. And they can kind of work up from there, or they can go straight into a D1 school and start performing from there.
Okay, yeah, no, it's great to you've obviously got a lot of lads who are doing really well for themselves in there, and it actually brings me on to my next question, which was so you mentioned there that Shane O'Riordan approached yourselves, but do you have a scouting network there as well where you kind of have a look yourselves, or is it they come to you first?
Yeah, well, it works kind of both ways. So we obviously have a big network of coaches that we work with. What I would say is that, it's a very, very wide net, because I think at the minute there's over 6,000 coaches in the US just specifically for football. It's funny, it's really interesting. I think the coaching aspect of it, what you'll find is the coaches, there's actually a lot of Irish coaches over there, whether it's graduate assistants, whether it's head coaches, assistant coaches, goalkeeping coaches, for example. So a lot of coaches over there will actually be of Irish background. I know, again, just kind of calling a couple of names out. Paddy Fitzgerald is one guy that I would have played with in the Irish schoolboys team in the Centenary Shield. He's over there now. He's coaching in Division 2 schools, so he's remained over there after playing over there. So yeah, we've got a really, really wide network. What we've done as well last December was we had our first showcase event, which was in Dublin at Talca Rovers, where coaches actually flew over from the States, and we got players from all around the country to come up. It was filmed. We had GPS there on the day, for example, and it was really, really good. It just gave the players a chance to play in front of the coaches, and obviously the coaches to see what level the players are at as well. And some of them actually got scholarships from that as well. So yeah, it's a really, really big network. As I said, the Irish community over there is really, really small. So it all depends. We've a really, really wide net of contacts over there.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting to see like that kind of stuff. So would you say that there's any similarities in there to UCD as a college scholarship kind of thing, or is it a completely separate thing that would be completely different?
Yeah, so this is really interesting because, again, I actually went through this with my old club, Sligo Rovers. So I attended Sligo IT, as it was known back then, where I was training kind of morning time, and then the evening I was in college in the IT. And I think one of the biggest things that for me that was very hard to juggle was, like, I know we went through a change of managers, and the manager that came in said, you either have to kind of train full time with us or you go to college. And I was kind of put in a situation where I had to decide that. So I decided to go college full time and then move to Ballinamallard United to go part-time football. And then coinciding with that, a year later, I was moving to the US. So I had a kind of a bigger plan. I know with UCD, like, I'm, again, a massive advocate for this. I think there's going to be a huge shift in the way the League of Ireland is run in the next couple of years. I think, they're at a crossroads right now in terms of the commercialization of the league, what they can do with it, the benefits of having a system where you can actually match your education and your sport and success as well. So yeah, I think UCD is obviously the model everybody looks at in terms of full-time study, and the guys are training full-time as well, and they're obviously in the Premier Division. And the great thing about all of this is that it's worked. UCD have a unique style of play. They have a very unique philosophy in the way they apply that. And as you can see now, there's players on the books there that are probably going to get moves in the next couple of weeks. So It definitely is something that's achievable. I think, the big thing about this is just getting this in front of people, getting the conversation going. Like, again, you compare it with the US, where they've got the MLS system and the super draft. I don't see why that something like that can't be brought into the League of Ireland. I think, it's obviously going to come down to finances and infrastructure, which obviously currently isn't in place. But if you base it off UCD, it's definitely achievable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at UCD at the moment. They obviously won the first division playoff last year. Got promoted that way with the likes of Colin Whelan. Unfortunately, he's injured at the moment. They have Liam Kerrigan. They've a few really a lot of cracking players there. I think they've Sam Todd as well, who's come over from Scotland to study, and it just shows the power of UCD and the power of having an education there, is that they can offer these things to players coming over from abroad as well. But I don't think you get in the Premier League or in other leagues abroad, where it's something unique to us, it's something unique to ourselves. And obviously UCD had the European run as well a few years ago. That, I mean, when was the last time a college team competed in Europe? So I think it is really interesting. It's really important that these people are looking at education as I think there's a lot of teams in the League of Ireland that have education partnerships as well, though, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. But I think, going back to the point you made there, David, I think Brexit has presented a massive opportunity again for someone like Ireland, for the League of Ireland, First Division and Second Division. You mentioned it there about European players maybe coming into Ireland to play football. So, there's no other system really in Europe right now where there's a scholarship system set up where you can bring in European players on maybe study visas, whatever it is, even if they need a visa. I'm not sure, but they don't need a visa. They're able to study freely in the EU. Because you imagine, you had a college set up where these players could come in, they could study, and all of a sudden they can actually be built into and integrated with a first team setup as well. That's something that no other country in Europe really has looked at. Again, there's kind of that gulf between professional and underage setup academies. So that's definitely something to look at. But yeah, going back to your question, I think UCD is kind of the creme de la creme of what we're speaking about right now. As you said, there is other clubs that are doing it. I know St. Pat's, for example, they're linked in with Maynooth. Dundalk, I believe, are linked in with Dundalk IT. And again, I think it comes down to the bottom line with all of this is that, it has to be manageable for the student athletes. You look at the likes of, Sam Todd, as I said, Liam Kerrigan, Colin Whelan. They've made a really, really conscious decision where they've left good clubs in Ireland to go to UCD, where they know that they can manage their full-time study and manage playing a full-time schedule as well. So there's a lot of variables with it. There's a lot that goes to it. But yeah, I think it is something that so it obviously wouldn't be good for our business, to be honest with you, David. But I genuinely am that passionate about it, having gone through it, that it's something I think it has to be brought to a table to at least discuss it. Kind of like the All Ireland League, the All Ireland League, sorry, which was mentioned. It was brought to a table. It was discussed. I was listening to Pat Fenlon on a podcast last week, and he's right in what he said. It comes down to finances and it comes down to European places, which is kind of the only reason why it's been held off right now. But if it was to come into place, and again, I'm kind of a pro All Ireland League, because you're playing against the best clubs, and I think they just have to manage that expectation where the gulf between top and bottom teams isn't it doesn't get bigger. So look, as I said, I'm getting carried away a little bit, but I'm very, very passionate about the UCD model, what Bows are doing, and again what St. Pat's and other clubs like that are doing as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is great. I love the idea of having the connection with League of Ireland and college as well. I played for ITB in Blanchardstown, and I mean, I played fairly low level, like we were on the B team, but we had lads on the team that played for Bows and the like. So you could see that there was that connection with ITB and Bows as well, and I think it's still going now that it's turned into TUD. So like there is that, there's another connection as well, and I think it's something that we need to look at more in the country. I think didn't Cork have? I mean, Bill, you might know more than I would, but Cork had UCC on their kit for a while as well, so they might still do, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, the partnership is, I think, it's due to extend, or I'm not sure if it's falling out or whatever. But like, again, they had I'm not sure how much of a scholarship system, or it wasn't a full scholarship system, but Conor McCarthy now, actually he just out of contract with St Mirren. I think he's expected to move either abroad or to a club in English leagues. And Sean McLaughlin at Hull City now, the two of them would have come through the college system. Sean actually played for UCC in, I can't think of the name of the competition now, but before signing for Cork City, then getting watched by Liverpool and clubs, and then signing for St Mirren, and then Hull, or no, for Hull, and then St Mirren on loan. Connor would have had a different path. He would have signed at UCC as captain, or signed for UCC, came through the academy of Cork City, became captain, and then towards the end of his degree actually made the move abroad. So I suppose there is those examples, but again, I think I plugged it in my recent article on the women's team. Though Cork City should really be positioning themselves and using that partnership more. Like, you could attract, if the next team to do that, I think, in the League of Ireland, aside from UCD. Look, I have a lot of respect for UCD or whatever, but I think if a Dundalk or maybe a Shamrock Rovers, they have a lot of resources, but if Cork City or a club like that position themselves as the place to go in League of Ireland, where you can earn your education, play at probably a higher level, have a higher ceiling before getting that move abroad, I think you could attract an awful higher standard of players into the league. And even if you're to offer the scholarship system to the players in the UK, like, I don't see the reason why not, because anything to improve the quality of the league, I think. But that's my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Like, it's 100% something that needs to be looked at. Like, as you say, Cork have the facilities there. They could easily, like, use UCC as a as basically like a knowledge bin or whatever. As a get everybody in there, and I don't see why you'd stop at the UK and Ireland. I think you could look abroad, further afield, and take in players from, like, you can nearly have an exchange program with teams from maybe Madrid or Bruges or all the Paris, whatever, any of these other big universities around Europe. Like, it'd be a really unique way of kind of trailblazing something for sustainability in the game, because you look at it's so easy to get an injury. That it's so easy for players to have career-ending injuries very, very early on, and it's education is a huge thing to have something to fall back on. It's huge, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, and I think, just to jump on that as well, lads, like, I think it'd be very naive of me to be chatting with you today and say that it's the be all and end all, that there has to be an educational path and there has to be a football path combined. I think if you're speaking to any young player coming through an academy system today, it's very, very hard to convince some of those players to go down the educational route along with their sport. And that's a decision, like, again, I'm speaking on behalf of myself from the experience that I had. It took me to 19, 20 years of age to realize that, okay, Jake, you need to have something here, maybe as a plan B if football didn't work out. And again, it was the best decision I ever made. But trying to convince younger people of that is something that's difficult. But again, I think that comes through discussion. I think that comes through educating as to what are the benefits of it. And just, again, to go back on your point, like, I think that's why the US system works so well. Again, I go back to the team that I was on. We had guys from Germany, we had guys from Iceland, we had guys from South America. And the beauty about that was you were culturally, you were diverse. You were integrating with all these different types of cultures, as I said, and different ways of training, different methods. I learned so much from that. And then the story that I always give is there's a tangible at the end of it as well, where again, one of my friends that I met, was with in college, he actually signed for Bayern Munich after college. He went in as a scout. A lot of the lads went pro. One went to Seattle Saunders. One of them got actually signed by Celtic. And then the other side of it as well is just from the educational point of view, if there isn't a scholarship system in place with these clubs, or if, for example, there isn't the university system in place for these clubs within the League of Ireland, I think having a system where, if the player doesn't make it at the club, having a support system in place for them, is so important, because if you don't make it now with, say, under 19 level, you know, what's next for a player? They have to be educated on, you know, how to live and move on with their lives after that. So again, big advocate for it. I think there's so much room to grow in terms of the space. And I think, as I said, I think it's something that the League of Ireland is looking at right now. It's more of a club-led project at the minute, but I think they are taking a notice at how clubs are doing it, and I think it's something that's going to be rolled out, you know, quite soon.
Yeah, well, that's the hope, I think, isn't it? It'd be great to see. You know, I think we do need to have a broader discussion at a higher level than ourselves to have a look into what can be done. I mean, you mentioned the super draft earlier on, which I think could be a really, really interesting way of making the League of Ireland that little bit different, and, you know, introducing kind of a new aspect of the game over here where we could, like, you know, I mentioned trailblazing earlier on, but it's something that it would be, no other country does it in Europe, and there's such a disconnect between the US and the European game, between MLS and Champions League, that you're looking at. You're nearly, even over here, I don't think we have a right in Ireland to look down on the MLS, but I think it is something that people nearly do when they're looking at European football. I think obviously in Ireland there's a big, you know, support of English football over here, and they're nearly looking at it saying, oh, well, the English game is better than the American game. Why would I watch that? It's the same with the Irish game. Why would I watch that when I have the English game right in front of me? And it's you know, I think that's something that we could look at, as especially you mentioned Brexit earlier on, Jake. It's you know, something that we can use, and, you know, we can really use that as a way of improving our game by keeping these younger players here, and it does come down to coaching and facilities at the end of the day. But if we can get that kind of stuff right, I think we'd be onto a real winner. Like,
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I think, as I said, I think it's, you know, the League of Ireland now is at a crossroads, as I said earlier. I think, you know, you look at the Shamrock Rovers model and the way it is, that they're, you know, they're top of the league, they're flying, they're selling crowds week in, week out. But again, that comes from, you look at them maybe, what was it, 15 years ago or 10 years ago, I'm not sure, but they're in the first division. So the League of Ireland goes in cycles. It goes with every club. I've seen it with Sligo Rovers myself, you know, the club that I grew up with supporting my whole life. It goes in cycles. So, you know, if you're trying to make the league as attractive as possible, you know, this is something that could work. And again, you know, they're looking at TV rights now with League of Ireland TV, which again has brought, I think, the game to the next level in Ireland. You know, so I think it's at a really, really good stage right now and a good crossroads. But I think they can elevate it to the next level. So it will be interesting to see what happens, I suppose, over the next couple of years.
yeah, no, absolutely. It's always interesting to watch the League of Ireland. That's why we say it's the greatest league in the world, because there's always something going on. Like, it doesn't matter if it's on the pitch or off the pitch. There's just always something to talk about. So it is something that's really interesting. But I'm just thinking now, just, you know, you're talking about the support that you have for these lads going over, the girls going over to America and things like that. Like, is there any kind of mental health? We had an episode last week with Head in the Game, which I'm sure you've heard of, as a, you know, they're a mental health organization that would look at, you know, trying to encourage people to talk within the League of Ireland community when it comes to mental health. Like, do you have any supports for these kids going over there?
Yeah, well,
for the mental side.
Yeah, well, I think the best thing that we do is we're always communicating with the clients. So what I mean by that is, you know, whether they're playing a game or whatever it is, you know, we're always checking up on them to see how it is. It's really interesting. Okay, so every client that we've had to date, myself, Ben, my partner, we've all gone through a patch of homesickness when we were over there. Okay, and I have no problem admitting that myself. So when I was over there, it always hits in October. Okay, in around the Halloween break, it always hits, and that's a very, very big hurdle to get over, because, you know, you're very, very close to coming home for Christmas to see your family. The season's starting to wind down. You've had a really, really busy semester. So in terms of support, you know, in around October, year on year, you know, we always check in with everybody. We have WhatsApp groups with them. We try to have as much webinars as possible. But again, I go back to the US and the structures that they have in place. When I was in college, we had sports psychologists. So, you know, for me, when I was competing, and again, that's a long time ago now, lads, by the way, competing, you know, we had support structures there in place that, you know, if we need a little bit of help and guidance, we could go into a sports psychologist and we could speak with this person who could maybe get us, you know, the extra 1 or 2% that we needed. We had dietitians, we had the best of the best in terms of medical care. You know, I got injured over there really, really badly. It was pretty much career-ending injury. And literally, I got injured on the pitch. They brought on a buggy, and within 5 minutes, I had an MRI on site at the college. It was away in the University of Connecticut. So in terms of the structure and the support that these clients student athletes are given by the college, you know, it's unmatchable. I would say the closest thing to it is the Premier League, is the Serie A, is the La Liga, just purely from a facility and support structure. Again, the year we were over there, Swansea City were over at our facility training, doing pre-season, you know, which is a college facility for men's soccer. It's unheard of. You know, I was coming from Sligo Rovers, where or Ballymage United, where we had an AstroTurf, we had a pitch, and again, that was enough for us. So this really broadened my horizons on the sport that they had. So yeah, again, you know, as much as we can do from our end, we try to. We know kind of the hot topics and when they kind of come to light throughout the year, and just try to support them. But it's a big topic over there. I know in the US there's been a lot of discussion about it over the last couple of months. Unfortunately, through bad news, I suppose, and they are putting a lot more plans in place now. But you know, thankfully, there is a lot of support structures for our clients already.
Yeah, that's it's brilliant to hear that. Like, it's as I said, we had an episode there a couple of weeks ago, or last week actually it was, when we were recording this. It was we had a chat with the lads from Head in the Game, and I think one of them actually is based out in America, and he was saying, like, it's brilliant over there, and he was talking about how important Head in the Game is, and it's starting to go worldwide, where they are encouraging. It's mainly young men, but you know, men, women, children, everyone. It's just such a hot topic at the moment, and it's something that's so important, is mental health, and for myself and Bill as well. It's a huge thing that we want to try and push that narrative as much as possible to get people to talk. And it's, you know, for mental health side of things, it's just as important, if not more important, than your physical health. So no, it's great to see that they have those facilities in place over in the States with yourselves, and then as further on with the college.
Yeah, they're miles ahead, obviously, with all that. So they really are kind of a shining light with that, which is great, you know.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant to hear. And just moving on, like, so yourselves, you're a consultancy firm with Atlantic Scholarships. Is that what it will be called, is it?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so obviously we're dealing with amateur sports people, so it's not an agency, because they're obviously amateur. So yeah, it's a consultancy.
So would that be your like getting your clientele be through the college, or is it the students themselves, or how would the money flow come in, for want of a better phrase?
Yeah. So it's the students themselves. We're regulated by the NCAA, which is the governing body in collegiate sports in the US. So our clients would be kind of our revenue generation, so to speak. We don't have any form of revenue coming in from the colleges. That's actually illegal in the collegiate game over there. So yeah, and again, you know, it's more of a, we obviously do our marketing and everything else, but it's more of a word of a mouth situation, where, you know, clients hear about us, they're looking to go to the US, and then they obviously sign up. And just in terms of what we do is obviously the onboarding process, where we kind of, I don't like using the word classify each client, but we find out, you know, what they're trying to achieve from it. One thing we obviously can't guarantee is say everybody gets a full scholarship, for example. That's next to impossible. But we give them kind of a rough idea of what's achievable, what's not. And then obviously, if they wish to take it further, we move into kind of the marketing phase with them, where we'll promote them to the coaches in the US. And there's so much in between that as well, where, you know, you've got visa requirements, you have eligibility clearance with the NCAA. You know, there's so much to it. So I think the best way to describe it is there's a process of A to Z, and we kind of manage everything in between that.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely brilliant. It's great, again, like, as I say, it's great to see that there's someone out there that is so passionate about making sure that, you know, teenagers and kids and underage players and young adults are looked after, and they're, you know, they're making the right decisions, and they're getting into the education system, as well as, like, potentially achieving their dreams of becoming professional sports stars.
Yeah, it's again, and I think it's a channel, and it's a pathway now that as you said earlier, it's unmatched. And again, it's a support system where if an athlete doesn't make it at their chosen sport, to be professional, then it's there for them. And again, you look at what was mentioned earlier about the Cork City lads, that had a link with UCC, and they went on to be professional footballers in England, and had a really good career. So we know ourselves, we're not codding anybody by saying that there is finance to be made, and lucrative finance to be made in professional football and professional sports. So it would be more of a kind of support system and pathway for people that are looking to get an education while playing as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. And just winding down now to the last couple of questions. What would be the ideas now for the future for yourselves? Is there any plans to move into like other countries or anything like that, or are you solely fixed on Ireland at the moment?
No, we're actually we've spread out in the last year and a half actually. So we are obviously, our main client base is in Ireland. We have a couple of clients from the UK, and we're also in the Middle East as well. So there's a lot of academies here in the Middle East that are again looking for pathways. So again, because it's so restricted in terms of the rules out in the Middle East in relation to professional clubs, you have to be a local resident. And again, primarily these markets are made up by expat. There is pathways to try and get clients to the US. So we've expanded definitely in the last year and a half in terms of plans. I suppose we've a lot of plans, but it depends on what I suppose is reality and what's not. Obviously, as I said, we're multi-sports, so we work with golf clients, we work with track and field, rugby. I think a big thing for me, as I said, like I would love to get to a point where we have a full team. And again, this is kind of I don't know if it's a bit of a pipe dream or whatever you want to call it, but I'd love to have a system or set up maybe in the middle of Ireland, whether it's at Loan or whatever it is, where we can gather a couple of players or a team of players, and have maybe a full-time training schedule with them weekly. They then obviously go back to their schools, and it's kind of geared towards moving to the US. And again, what comes with that is obviously a different mentality in terms of the way the sport is played. Obviously, strength and conditioning now has come on leaps and bounds in Ireland, but again, the US is probably a little bit ahead of it in terms of where they're at. So I think it's just tailoring for these players and getting them ready for potentially going across to the US. Something like that I think will be unique. But again, that's something that's going to require a lot of planning. So for now, again, it's just about having these showcase events, trying to put the clients in the best light possible, and kind of going with the flow from there.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's really interesting. It's something that I'm sure that if people are listening to this, they'll be looking into themselves. It's great to see. As I said, we had Sean Kerrigan over on the podcast a few weeks ago, and he was singing the praises of yourself and of the scheme, the scholarships and everything as it was, and he couldn't speak highly enough about it. And that's the kind of stuff that it's great to see. And if there are kind of younger kids listening, or teenagers 15, 16, looking at what their options are when they finish in school, and they're starting to get looked at by professional clubs, they might have that other option there that they might look at and think, yeah, you know what, this is more a bit of me, and I'll look forward to getting over to the States if possible. So no, look, it's great to have you on, Jake, and I mean, I'm sure we'll be chatting to you again another time about this. It's something I think it's something that'll always be evolving, really, as we look at the land of Brexit, really, and with that kind of stuff coming on, I think a lot more people will be looking to go the route of college in America to play their top level sport.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be, as I said, I think I'll go back to it again. I think the League of Ireland and other sport and federations within Ireland are at a bit of a crossroads now in terms of moving forward. So it's just, again, it's about providing opportunities for younger people. And you mentioned a couple of ages there, 15, 16, you could be 22 when you want to go across, and you might be still eligible. So you might play in Ireland for a couple of years, you might think, okay, look, it's not worked out, I want to try something different, and you can still go across. So again, there's pathways for everybody, which is great.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely brilliant. And look, you've been really, really generous with your time. It's been great to have you on. We're absolutely big on Atlantic scholarships now. We've had yourself and Sean Kerrigan on, so I'm sure we'll try and get somebody else from your program on as well in the future to pick their brains as well.
Just waiting for the invoice now. When are you going to be sending that, lads?
Brilliant. So thanks very much, Jake.
Cheers, lads. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks very much.
Joined here by Leeds United's underage superstar, Ronnie McGrath, an Irish under 19s player, 17 years old. Ronnie, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me. Nice to be on here.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you on. You're signed with Leeds. You're currently at the under 18s, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and how's that going? You doing well?
Yeah, well, I had a bit of a slow start last season. So in pre-season, I had a back fracture, stress fracture in my back. That kept me out quite a while, till like November time, and then not long after that, I had a bit of a knee problem where I had to get some surgery on it. So I actually played my first game of the season in February. So it was a very slow start, but no, I did well. I ended up playing 11 games. So, and then I got an Ireland call up as well, obviously. So it ended pretty positive.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm just looking here. You were out for 8.5 months with those two like really big injuries. What was it like coming through the rehab at Leeds? I could imagine they've got a great facilities to deal with that kind of stuff. What was the rehab like?
No, it was really good. The physio I did it with Mark. He's really good with it. He helped me through all of it because obviously it's hard with your physical side, obviously being injured and stuff, but you've got the mental side of things as well. So obviously, other than being a good physio, he helped me a lot with everything basically during the rehab. So I ended up coming back a lot. I didn't just come back from my injuries. I came back a lot stronger and better from them. So that was down to Mark, really good physio. So we got good facilities there and stuff. So that helps a lot.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear, especially the mental side of things. Our last episode was actually an episode on Head in the Game, which is an initiative over here to get people talking more about football or about mental health in football. So no, it's great to hear that you were taken care of well on the mental side as well as the physical side. Yeah, so you've played for the England under 15s and 16s, and then the changeover in the Irish under 19s. Where does the link come from? Where is it, like, how far back is the link in your family?
Yeah, it's my grandparents on my dad's side. They're from Dolphins Barn in Dublin, so that's the link.
Oh, very good.
And
yeah, no.
basically, when I was growing up, like my dad's a big Ireland fan, and we're also big Celtic fans. So we've always had like a massive Irish connection sort of thing. Like it's always been strong in my family, and it has been something I've always wanted to. Before the call up, it's always been something I've wanted to try. You know, playing for Ireland and stuff. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, brilliant. And how does that kind of work with the changing over from the 16s, the English 16s to the Irish 19s? Like, I assume there's a lot of paperwork involved with that changing your nationality with FIFA and things like that, is there?
Yeah, well, it took so obviously you've got to get proof of my grandparents being born in Ireland, and it took quite a while. It took quite a while because my granddad he was born in Birmingham and he moved back over to Ireland when he was a baby, but my nan was born in Dublin, but there wasn't any proof basically of her being born there. So it took a long time compared to probably others who've had to do it, because we went through like church records and stuff like that. The way we found it from, I want to say, like my second cousin on Facebook sort of thing, we got in touch with him and he managed to get us the documents and stuff for it to get it sent through.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. It's great to see that someone's chosen to come over and play for Ireland. You know, I'm sure you've heard the stories of certain English internationals at the moment that change allegiances the other way. So, no, it's great to hear. You know that you're declaring for us. It's great to have you. Just looking here, you're a right-sided player. You play more on the right wing, right midfield, right back. Is that true?
Yeah, well, I came back from my injury, played wing, and then our normal. The thing I actually played right back a lot when I was younger, probably from like under nines to under 12s, 13s, and then I went forward a bit more. But our fullback got injured, and I ended up covering there in fullback for the last 4 or 5 games. My under 18s coach actually sees me as a fullback anyway, but yeah, I ended up playing really well there, and I probably enjoy it more than wing, to be honest. It's a good position.
Yeah, I suppose you look at the evolution of the right full of late, like you know the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold and
Yeah.
you know Reece James and the likes of, especially in England, they'd be more kind of involved in getting forward and getting on the ball. So I think it'd be that type of player. Would you say that's the type of player that you'd be most compared to, or who would you in the modern game? Who would you say you'd be most like?
I don't know this because like obviously fullback wise, Trent, he's known for his passing and stuff. I couldn't actually pick one. I enjoy dribbling. I enjoy taking on players, going around players. I wouldn't say there's a fantastic amount of players like that anymore, especially at fullback sort of thing. So I don't know. I'd like to think of myself as like an individual sort of thing, my own type of player. I don't really see much or many modern players anyway with the same style. Obviously, being a Celtic fan, there's a few players that I look up to, like Tom Rogic, for example. He's a bit more forward than me, but the way he plays, like a lot of dribbling, a lot of taking men on, that's something, it's something I look up to. It's something I enjoy. So yeah, any particular dribbler, someone skillful, anyone like that.
Yeah, so a bit of pace about you as well, maybe, and you know it can cause a bit of trouble, especially if you're coming from right back. I suppose you have a bit more room to build up a head of steam, get a bit of pace
Exactly.
behind you. Yeah.
A lot more area space to drive into with the ball. That's good.
Yeah. So when you're being called up to the Irish under 19s, how does that work? Who's the first person that gets in contact with you?
I want to say it was someone called Vinny. He deals with all the the paperwork and stuff like that. But beforehand, so there was some scouts who came to watch me. I want to say a few weeks after after I mentioned it to the Republic of Ireland tracker, there was a scout came to watch us via Liverpool, and then Wolves, I believe, and then another. I don't know the other one, but yeah. So they came to watch me, got in touch with me, and yeah, I think Vinny did a lot of it. There's a few others, but yeah, there's a lot of because it was hard at the time, obviously with the paperwork and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so you went through your injuries and things like that, your rehab, and back stronger than ever now. And I mean, you must be looking forward to any future call-ups, are you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was buzzing when I found out about this one. It was just obviously it's something I want to do for so long, and then the way it ended wasn't very nice. Obviously with the injury, so yeah, I can't wait for the next one sort of thing. So just hopefully get back fit, and if I find the form I had towards the end of the season in the last 10 or few games that I played, then yeah, hopefully I'll get another call up.
Yeah, and just seeing here, you were called up to train with the first team at Leeds last year, was it?
Yeah.
And what was that like training under Marcelo Bielsa?
I remember it was Kean. It was both of us, and they did a lot of work off the iPad sort of thing. So they'll show us drills on the iPad, and then we'd have to obviously go out and do them. The first team because they've done them all season, they knew all of them. Me and Kean had to watch all of the passing drills, movement drills, and stuff on the iPad before going out to train, and we had to I think I had to memorize about 6 or 7 different drills in my head in the space of about 5 minutes before I had to go out and do them. It was crazy up there, sort of thing. Very, very hard, very frantic, 100 miles an hour when we was training with him. I was obviously, because I didn't know the drills that well. It was quite a scary moment for me, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Bielsa, of course, was one of the. He was put up for manager of the year that year, wasn't he? That in was it 2021. He was up for or was it 2020 or whatever? He was called up to be in the top 3 managers in the world. So I mean,
I know.
To train under him must have been crazy.
It was a crazy playing style. I mean, obviously, I missed a lot of it that season, but even when I came back, some of the stuff, because when we was under 18s, we replicated a lot of whatever the first team did, sort of thing, and we was doing murder ball and stuff high, and it was not just we'd do murder ball midweek, but not just that, we'd be doing high intensity drills, probably Tuesday to Friday sort of thing. So it was, and then play on Saturday. So it was really, really intense training.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, one of the questions I wanted to ask you was about. So you're with the under 18s, and obviously Bielsa was the seniors manager. When you have a manager like that in charge, does the whole club just change the entire ethos and just work towards his style of play, or do you does it depend on who your manager is with that age group?
No, well, that's the thing. There's some managers you might have a little bit more leeway with the 18s coach. You might have a little bit more leeway with what they do, but under Bielsa, it was very, very structured sort of thing. So whatever he was doing, the 23s would do. Whatever the 23s was doing, and then we'd do it as well, sort of thing. It was for them. If we was doing the same thing the first team was doing, if we got called up, we was ready to, we already understood what we had to do, sort of thing.
Of course, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So you're one of 3 really exciting young Irish players at Leeds in the under 19s at the moment. You mentioned already Keane Coleman, and then Andrew Ducci.
Ben Andrucci, yeah.
Is that how? Yeah. So what's it like? Is that? I'm sure there's a bit of a buzz between the 3 at the moment, is there?
Well, yeah, obviously. When I was younger with Kean, we talked about playing for Ireland together. So it was obviously nice to be on a camp with him. That was the first time ever. And then Ben's been on a few as well. I want to say he's been on some with Kean, but yeah, it was just being called up's lovely and stuff. And then having people that you've played with for so long to go and play with you is also really nice.
Yeah, it's probably easier to settle in then if you know the lads that are there as well. And did you join up with the team before your injury? Was that, or did you miss out beforehand?
No, that was So there was Kean's. I remember Kean and Ben went to the first camp when I was injured. So I believe there's their English-based camp sort of thing, for all the English players that can play for him. And Kean and Ben was at that, and obviously. That's how they got to know lots of the lads. So it was nice when I got called up, having Kean there, with someone to introduce me to him, sort of thing. It was nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, just kind of wrapping up now. What would be your plans and your aspirations for the future? You mentioned you're a big Celtic fan, and you're obviously an Irish underage player now. Is that the target now? Is to play for Celtic at Parkhead and play for Ireland senior team, or is there anything else that you'd be looking at?
I'd love to play for Celtic. That's always been a dream. Same with Ireland, but at the moment, I know in my ability. Obviously, it's been a bit harder for me with the injuries and stuff. Like even picking up one now, like in my head, I know I'm easily good enough, to push on from the 18s to hopefully maybe in a few years' time being around the first team for Premier League football sort of thing. I know I've got the ability for it. I definitely have. It's just one of them things. My progress has been stopped a little, obviously, because of the injuries. But yeah, in the future, I just want to see how far I can go forward with Ireland, and then obviously Premier League football, because I know I've got the ability to play Premier League football.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. It's great to hear that you have that confidence about it as well, and it's like a natural. You're not putting it on. It's great. And look, I mean, as an Irish fan, I love nothing more than to see you go on and get your first senior cap, and I'm sure I'll be there in the Aviva Stadium when you do. I go regularly enough myself, so it'd be great to see you step out onto the turf at Lansdowne Road. But I'm sure you're going to have to learn the national anthem before then. Is that the plan now?
Yeah. Well, that'll be my next step. Hopefully, well, I've got time off now with my injury, so hopefully by the next camp.
Yeah, I mean, you
know
probably.
better.
Yeah, you'd know better than I would anyway. But no, look, it's been great having you on, Ronnie. Look, you're a very mature head and young shoulders, and it's great to see. I'm sure you're going to go flying up the ranks now at Leeds, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you playing in the Premier League soon enough.
Yeah,
that's great. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Do you like football? Do you enjoy collecting football kits? And we have the event for you. Sunday the 2nd of July in the Imperial Hotel in Dundalk. KitCon will be present, the first ever Irish football kit convention. Kit vendors, kit collections, football walking tours, panel discussions being led by some of the leading experts in football kits, as well as giveaways and match ticket discounts. For more information, please visit footballkitbox.com or head over to our socials.